Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. In fact, wherever you're listening around the world, welcome to EV News Daily. It's Tuesday, the 8th of January. My name is Martyn Lee, and I've been through every EV story I can find today and picked out the ones I think you need to know about. Well, first of all, thank you as always to the team at myev.com for helping me make this show. That is the world's first marketplace, all about buying and selling electric vehicles. There's none of your fossil-fueled rubbish on there. If you want to have a look at myev.com, if you're in the US, go make the most of having that. I would love to have a website like that here in the UK. You are lucky enough to have that in North America. Check out myev.com. And thank you very much to any individual that supports the podcast. And a new producer of the podcast is joining the family. That would be you, Charles Mugan or Muggan. Charles, thank you for being part of the Patreon gang. I really appreciate that. Patreon.com/EV News Daily. Well, Elon Musk flew to Shanghai yesterday to lead the groundbreaking ceremony for Gigafactory 3. It's the next step in the Tesla story, and whilst I'm not one for hyperbole, this could be their biggest move to date. Here are some clips of Elon talking to K News and uploaded by Vincent Yu on YouTube. Now, Elon Musk spoke to K News and paid a huge compliment to how quickly things can be built in China, including a story about supercharging stations built there. And I must say that when you listen to this, the music in the background isn't me adding that, by the way. This is a news report on Chinese TV. The whole thing was kind of running with this funky music in the background all the way through. So that's the news report, which is kind of weird. We don't get a lot of funky music soundtracks on hard news reports here in the UK, but maybe that's the way that TV networks roll in China. Anyway, this is Elon talking about the speed things happen in China.
I kind of was expecting a rapid progress because I know how quickly things can be built in Shanghai. I've been very impressed with how the construction in Shanghai. It's very efficient, it's very fast, and high quality. And I first saw that when we were building the Tesla Supercharger network. And we were able to build this amazing supercharger, quite a big supercharger in downtown Shanghai in like 12 days. It was amazing. It was like the fastest we'd ever built anything in the world. We can set a new Tesla record for construction and make a beautiful, sustainable factory that is our most advanced Tesla Gigafactory in the world, and do so in the fastest period of time than we've ever built a Gigafactory. Because of the great resources and capabilities in Shanghai.
He spoke about the lesson. I quite like that, news with music. It's nice, right? Lightens it a little bit. He spoke about the lessons learned and which models will be made in China.
Our plan is that this will be the most advanced Tesla Gigafactory in the world because it will take all of the things that we've learned from our prior Gigafactory production and we will apply it here. We're going to focus on the affordable versions of the Model 3 and Model Y, which is very important in order to make our cars as accessible as possible to as many people in China as possible. Because our mission is to accelerate the advent of sustainable transport, so in order to do that, we must make our cars affordable. The Shanghai factory will be produce cars for Greater China and probably for many parts of Asia as well. So going beyond China, we'll also export cars from China to other countries in the Asia region.
Cha-cha-cha-cha. Ooh, yeah, nice. I'm liking it. Is that library music from somewhere? That's not like a song that's ever been released, right? He spoke about the need to buy a car now and not waiting for any possible price reductions, which may or may not come in the future. Don't hang on waiting for your Tesla. You should buy one now.
The high-end versions of the Model 3, the price will still remain the same next year. So I don't want people to hold off on purchasing, expecting a price drop. It's very important because we need to sell cars today in order to build the factory tomorrow. So right now we are selling the more expensive versions of the Model 3. And we will continue to make the expensive versions of the Model 3 in the US, and those will be shipped to China. But it's really in order to maximize the affordability. So the affordable versions of the Model 3 and Model Y will be made at Shanghai Giga, but we will continue to make the expensive versions of the Model 3, the high-end, like the sports version and the very long-range version, that kind of thing. We'll continue to make those in the US, so the pricing will remain the same. And it's very important that people do buy our cars that we're making today, otherwise we will not be able to afford to build the factory.
And finally, Music over news, that's the future, right? That's going to lighten all these terrible news stories that happen. Finally, he spoke about his passion for bringing young engineers up through the company and maybe, he says, maybe even one day be the CEO. Watch out for that maybe he throws in there. I don't think he's ready to slow down just yet.
With the Shanghai Giga now, we're establishing a strong manufacturing footprint, and we also intend to establish a strong engineering and design capability within China. So if somebody is a talented engineer, designer, or really good with production, please join our team. There's no limit to potential. So somebody who joins today as a junior engineer in Tesla China could one day be CEO of Tesla worldwide. They could have my job one day, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Then he smiles as he says that. Well, that's the news about Gigafactory 3. That's the groundbreaking ceremony they've done now. Now the hard work really kicks in of actually building Gigafactory 3. But I can't wait. There's so many drone videos on YouTube of people following the progress of that. I'm really looking forward to seeing how quickly they can put a factory up and get it operating. We know the first cars coming out of it by the end of this year. Volume production for 2020. Now, the next 5 stories on the podcast all come from podcast listeners to the show. I'm more than happy to research this show, but I'm not complaining that you're doing all of the work for me. I'm kind of redundant at this point. Phil Roberts kicks us off. Phil Roberts from Electric Future sent me this story about Volkswagen. Now, people rightly criticise VW for saying a lot and not doing very much in the EV space yet. We can't buy any of their volume-produced cars. The e-Golf is hard to get hold of. The hybrids like the GTEs, nope. But this news, if they follow it up very quickly with some action, does actually point to them taking electrification enormously seriously. Let me preface this story by saying this is a once in a revolution, an industrial revolution. This is a once in 100-year opportunity to change the balance of power from oil-producing nations and from the traditional superpowers in terms of world energy to a new landscape, because our personal and community transport, we know in the future, will be electrified and it won't run on oil. And so whoever gets there first and can do it the best in terms of the electric play can win, but they can win not just big, stratospherically big. Well, the Volkswagen Group is establishing a new company today for their energy offering and their charging solutions. It underlines their strategic goal of becoming a leading provider of mobility, they say. The new Volkswagen Group company is also going to offer customers outside the group power from renewable sources, 100% CO2 neutral. They said this, and I quote, "Our mission is to take e-mobility out of its niche and place it in the mainstream." The name ELLI, E-L-L-I. ELLI stands for Electric Life. It's the first 2 letters of electric and then life, E-L-L-I. ELLI, because we intend to enable a lifestyle that fully integrates the electric car in people's everyday lives. This approach could be compared with the use of a mobile phone, which is taken for granted nowadays. We'll be creating a seamless, sustainable ecosystem that addresses the main applications and provides answers to all the energy questions raised by electric car users and fleet operators. Well, the company's going to gradually be building up a portfolio of intelligent power tariffs, wall boxes, charging stations, and an IT-based energy management system. And when we've talked to energy people on the podcast before, that's going to be the next frontier in terms of your house working out. Don't charge the car now because the grid is expensive and the tariff is high, or the energy is a little bit dirtier because it's peak time. But overnight, when maybe you've got some nuclear base load, or it's very windy, or you've got some renewables, then, well, let's turn the car charging on now. So that intelligent energy management at home level is going to be a big thing. Their first offering is called At Home. Now, At Home is all about charging at home. They're going to have smart energy management and photovoltaic cells for your roof. There's going to be a high-end DC charging station. Now, their DC charging stations are 22 kilowatts. We're talking 3-phase by the look of it at the moment. That can make electric car charging and also energy storage a big part of your house and your energy system. It's part of the grid in the future, thanks to bidirectional charging and connection to an energy management system inside your home. The Volkswagen Group say it's going to be possible to store power from your roof in the VW cars and, using vehicle to grid or vehicle to home, feed your energy needs from your car. The next offering is called At Destination. This is charging when you get to where you're going, so employee parking spaces and Volkswagen's partners. The expansion of charging stations at Volkswagen's own employee car parks is going to be first this year, from 1,000 chargers to 5,000 chargers by 2020, and the equivalent of all 4,000 dealers and service partners in Europe, or in the EU, with several charging possibilities at their facilities, also by 2020. Also for their destination chargers, fleet customers and chain outlets, Ellie is in discussion, as they say, with concerning operation of the installation of charging stations at car parks of big major chains that operate in the EU. Finally, charging on the road, and as a mobile service provider, Ellie is going to make charging in public spaces a thoroughly positive experience, they say, thanks to a convenient digital payment system using a charge card and tailor-made tariffs. Well, I'll put a link in the show notes to that press release. If they follow this up with some very quick action, we know that they're putting their money where their mouth is. And, you know, I do think as badly as some of these companies have behaved, I am more of an optimistic person than pessimistic. I'm more positive than negative. And I know that's sometimes can be naive, but I think give these companies a chance. None of them wanted this transition as quick as it's happening. None of them wanted it. They'd made massive investments in diesel factories on a 5, 10, 15-year plan, right? They were doing their 2030 plans. None of them thought it would happen this quickly. Thanks to Tesla, it is. But if they do follow this up with action, this is a huge change in a very short period of time. And that Volkswagen ID, that first car that comes, they say that they keep talking about big volume for it. I just said, give them some time. And I know everyone will agree with me. You can slate me in the comments. You can say that I'm naive. You can say that after Dieselgate, that we shouldn't be giving them any leeway at all and to never buy one of their cars again. I know I'll get people saying that, but leave your comments in and I'll read them all. I'll reply to them all as well. If I'm right, if I'm wrong, what do you think? Right, our next story, our next listener. It was Andrew Cunningham that sent me this one. The solar inverter manufacturer SolarEdge has made a major play for the burgeoning e-mobility market. It's acquired an Italian EV firm. They're called SMRE, says Liam Stoke for Current News website. SolarEdge is among the world's largest manufacturers of inverters used with solar PV and battery storage. They announced the acquisition this morning in a deal which values SMRE at about $150 million US. That's 117 million pounds. And it's one company looking at the future of energy, making a big acquisition to put them in a better spot. Exactly what we've just been talking about, funnily enough. Right, our next story comes from our next listener. On Twitter, he is the Plug Seeker, and he contributes hugely to the EV community here in the UK, updating charging locations and things like that. Well, Atlas Motor Vehicle Company, to give it its full name, is a new name on the scene. Seemed to break out after the news today. Atlas says it's got a new pickup truck coming, the XT, and it's going to be among the most capable trucks ever to be made. According to the automaker, it can be configured up to 500 miles with their largest pack, according to Eric Loveday at InsideEVs.com. In addition to the long range, towing capacity 35,000 pounds, payload at 5,000 pounds, a standard crew cab with a shorter bed, standard air suspension on that, independent on all four corners, 12 inches of ground clearance. For more extreme use, you get an off-road version with a 15-inch ground clearance, 0 to 60 is 5 seconds, 0 to 60 in 18 seconds, even when it's fully loaded. And they're going to be running on a special XP platform. Not Windows XP, by the way. That's their own platform. On the XT, which is the name of the car, it uses 4 independent motors, 1 on each wheel for 4-wheel drive. I'll put a link in the show notes if you want to read more about that. I would say I've never heard of Atlas. I don't know what their fundraising is. I don't know who works for them. I need to do my own due diligence on that. The pictures are renders. Someone's got themselves a nice, I don't know, Photoshop or CAD or something. The pictures are lovely, but it's not a truck they've made. So they published some pictures online and said they're going to make this amazing truck. Limited funds can certainly get you that far to making an announcement. Is this another Faraday Future? Or is this a Rivian and a Tesla? So we'll wait and see. Good luck to everybody. Like I say, I'm a natural optimist. I mean, good luck to anyone that wants to start a car company, a truck company. The reason I included it on today's podcast, though, is even if this truck never gets made, even if this is only ever on an announcement, but good luck to them if it does keep the narrative, the conversation about electric trucks and those other big truck makers in the US, hopefully seeing these kind of things. And if there is a market for these vehicles, and if they, if they do get funding of a few $100 million and they do start to make trucks, then the big players surely have to take this seriously and start to make their own electric trucks. And also, I put the specs in there because it's the specs that we're talking about with electric trucks. Okay, moving on. Our next listener sent us our next story. This has been an easy day for me. Glenn Mason sent me this. Thank you, Glenn. Harley-Davidson is releasing new specs for its electric motorcycle and pulled the covers off the concept designs for its electric bicycle and scooter as the company's push into electrifying its product line continues. According to TechCrunch, the company showed that going electric doesn't mean losing any of the muscle that is intrinsic to the Harley-Davidson brand. The 2019 EV debut can out-accelerate any of their gas motorcycles. Surprise, surprise. According to specs released today at CES, the battery is going to power the Live Wire. That's the name of the vehicle, the Live Wire. 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, 110 miles on a charge. US dealerships get it in August. It's happening. It's going to be soon. Get your orders in. It's $29,799, under $30,000. Fantastic. Right. Next listener, next story. Thank you, Chris. Chris McKenzie sent me this one. Auto Express understands a new undisclosed member of the Volkswagen ID family is being planned by the executives in Wolfsburg. According to Auto Express, it's smaller than the ID, smaller than the Golf. It's a T-Cross sized all-electric SUV. So it's got the SUV styling, but it's a little diddler. It's a baby one. It's being considered, and it could go on sale at a price tag of less than £20,000. That's what, $25,000? I don't know. Early next decade. Exclusive images on Auto Express show how it could look. It's got a smaller footprint than the latest that we've seen from VW, the ID Mini crossover. Would be about 4 meters in length. The battery electric powertrain and packaging is made possible thanks to their new platform, the MEB platform under the skin. Interior space, therefore, would just be, there'd be loads of it inside. It's on the same platform. It's going to make from that as the smallest vehicle to the very big people carrier sized cars. So a ton of space inside it for an entry-level mini SUV. If they make it, they're most likely to make it in the Emden facility in northwest Germany, taking over production currently used that is used to make the Volkswagen Passats. Right, final story today, and this is a big, big win for Jaguar. Clean Technica heads to the Netherlands for this story. The Jaguar I-Pace was the best-selling vehicle in December. Not the best-selling EV. It was the best-selling vehicle in December. The Tesla Model S was the number one plug-in vehicle across the year of 2018. Says Jose Pontes about the European country. It's got about 17 million people live there. December had 6,200 plug-in vehicle registrations in the Netherlands. That's a 4-fold increase compared to the same month last year and the market's best month in 2 years. The sales total translates to 31% EVs in December. That pulls the sale over the year up to 6%. It was a stellar December, all due to new taxes, road taxes that are coming in. Or have come in. The Tesla Model S had a great month and year. 1,500 sales in December. The Model X got the third place on the podium with 652 deliveries. That's new highs for both Tesla models and an amazing result for the Jaguar I-Pace. I've said to you before on the podcast, very, very low numbers in the USA, in the low hundreds, literally like 230 something for the I-Pace in December. Not because they're not making any of them, because the outsourcing, because it's the car isn't made by Jaguar. They've outsourced the production of it for their first EV. They're making plenty of them. They're just putting them in certain parts of the world first. And I'm sure the US number is going to fly when they start to get inventory heading there. Right, thank you very much to everyone who sent me those stories. You don't have to, by the way. I quite like looking for these EV stories myself, but it was nice to get a flurry of them all at once. Thank you very much to myev.com for setting our question of the week. Have you answered it yet? I'd love to get your answer to this. If a fossil driver were to say to you that they're EV curious, now you know a little bit about EVs because you listen to this podcast and others, and great YouTube channels as well. If a fossil driver says to you, you're into electric cars, what's the one thing I should know about them? Then tell me, what's the one thing that people should know about electric cars if they're currently driving dirty dinosaurs? Tell me on email, hello@evnewsdaily.com, and you can use the comment section of YouTube, myev.com. You can go to the Facebook comments if you want to. There are 153 patrons of the podcast, he says, whilst opening the Patreon app, just to make sure that I've not missed anybody off last time I checked. 154, that's right, because Charles makes 154. There you go. Thank you very much if you support the show. I'd love to read your name out next. Wouldn't that be so cool? Patreon.com, patreon.com/EV News Daily. Thank you to Phil Roberts, not only for sending me stories, but also supporting the show from Electric Future. Hello to electricmotoring.net, our premium partner, and also Brad Crosby as well, and the rest of our Patreon supporters. There are 350 previous shows online for free, wherever you get your podcasts from. Hit subscribe to get them first and free and automatically. We put the audio on YouTube as well, by the way. If you want to get the audio just on YouTube, you can do that. If you want to subscribe on there as well, hit the little bell icon. You get a notification when there's a new show for you to get. In the meantime, any review that you can leave would be massively appreciated on my part. Thank you very much to everyone that has done this week. On the socials, search EV News Daily to come and have a chat there. In the meantime, have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you tomorrow.